The laptop screen glowed with an otherworldly blue light as I stared at the email thread I was never meant to see. Lucas had forgotten to log out of his account on my computer, and there they were, dozens of messages between him and his mother, spanning the last 3 months of our engagement. "She's sweet, darling, but is she really the kind of woman who can support your ambitions?" Valerie's words burned into my retinas. "Remember Caroline from the country club? She's doing remarkable things in real estate now. Perhaps you should reconnect before making any permanent decisions." My fingers trembled over the trackpad. "I'm Sophia, and until 5 minutes ago, I thought I was living a modern fairy tale, successful career, gorgeous architect fiancé, and a future that seemed golden. Now I'm watching that future unravel one email at a time. Mom, Sophia and I are happy. Please stop trying to set me up." Lucas's replies were defensive, but not enough. Never enough to shut her down completely. Another message caught my eye. "Darling, have you noticed how she's let herself go lately? Those extra pounds aren't becoming for someone marrying into our family. The Carter name carries certain expectations." I pushed away from the desk, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. The sound echoed through our empty apartment, the one Lucas and I had picked together before his temporary assignment in Tokyo. 5 years of long-distance love, and this is what had been happening behind my back. My phone buzzed. A text from Emily: "Drinks tonight. You sound stressed in your last message." I typed back, "Rain check." Something came up. Something like discovering your future mother-in-law is orchestrating your replacement. The cursor blinked at me from Lucas's email. I should log out. Close the laptop. Pretend I never saw any of this. But my hands moved on their own, creating a new folder, methodically forwarding every damning message to my personal account. 5 years of building a life with Lucas, and his mother had been quietly undermining it all along. The last email was the worst. Dated yesterday, "I've arranged for Caroline to be at the charity gala next month. Wear that blue suit I bought you, it brings out your eyes." Sometimes these things just need a gentle push in the right direction. I closed the laptop with trembling hands. Valerie Carter, former beauty queen and current social media darling, thought she could puppet master her way into destroying my relationship. Well, she was about to learn something about me that Lucas had known since day one. I don't back down from a fight. My phone buzzed again. Valerie's name flashed across the screen. "Darling, just checking on those gala arrangements. We simply must discuss your wedding plans." I smiled, but there was nothing warm about it. "Of course," I typed back. "I can't wait. Game on, Valerie. Game on." My father's study always smelled of leather and aged wood, a sanctuary where he'd presided over countless legal decisions. Now, as Lucas and I sat across from him, I could feel the weight of another judgment hanging in the air. "The Carters," my father said, rolling the name around like he was tasting something bitter. "Interesting family history there." Lucas shifted in his leather chair. "Sir, I know my mother can be intense, but she means well." I watched my father's face, noting the slight tightening around his eyes. 20 years on the bench had given him an uncanny ability to spot lies, even the ones people told themselves. "Does she?" He reached for a folder on his desk. 10 years ago, I presided over a case. Young woman named Rebecca Chin. Brilliant architect, much like yourself, Lucas. She was engaged to James Morton, old money, social connections. Until Valerie Carter got involved. My stomach clenched. Lucas leaned forward. "I don't understand." Rebecca's career was destroyed by rumors. Whispers about affair, embezzlement, drug use. None of it true, but by the time the dust settled, she'd lost everything. The only common thread. Your mother's social circle. That's circumstantial, Lucas protested, but his voice wavered. I touched the phone in my pocket, thinking of the forwarded emails. Dad, why are you telling us this? Because history has a way of repeating itself. He fixed his gaze on Lucas. Your mother attended every hearing, sitting right behind James. Always perfectly composed, always supportive. But I watched her orchestrate that girl's destruction without ever leaving a fingerprint. Lucas stood abruptly. With all due respect, sir, you're talking about my mother. I'm talking about protecting my daughter. The tension crackled between them. I remembered Valerie's email about Caroline, about gentle pushes in the right direction, and felt sick. Lucas, my father's voice softened. Have you ever wondered why none of your previous relationships lasted? That's enough. Lucas reached for my hand. Sophia, we should go. But I stayed seated, my father's words echoing in my head. How many others had there been? How many lives had Valerie quietly dismantled to maintain her perfect vision of her son's future? Rebecca Chen lives in Seattle now, my father said as we reached the door. Different name, different career. But I bet she'd remember Valerie Carter. In the car, Lucas was silent, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. I wanted to tell him about the emails, about his mother's latest schemes. Instead, I asked, do you remember Rebecca? Vaguely. She was. There was a scandal. Mom said she was troubled. I pulled out my phone and typed Rebecca Chin architect scandal into the search bar. Sometimes the past doesn't need to repeat itself. Sometimes it just needs to be uncovered. The Carter family dining room felt like a stage, all crystal and candlelight, with Valerie holding court at the head of the table. I'd positioned myself near the kitchen door, ostensibly to help with serving, but really to catch every whispered word. Caroline looks radiant tonight, Valerie's voice carried from the adjacent sitting room. Harvard Law, you know. Her father's firm is expanding into Tokyo. I pressed my back against the wall, phone recording in my pocket. Through the crack in the door, I watched Caroline laugh at something Lucas said, her hand lingering too long on his arm. Lucas needs someone who understands our world, Valerie continued to her circle of society friends. This engagement is just a phase. He'll see reason once he's back in Tokyo. My fingers curled into fists, nails biting into palms. Richard Carter caught my eye from across the room, his expression unreadable. Sophia, darling. Valerie's voice made me jump. Would you help me with the dessert plates? In the kitchen, she handed me a stack of fine china, her perfectly manicured nails gleaming. You know, I've been thinking about your wedding plans. Have you? My voice stayed steady, even as my heart hammered. Perhaps a longer engagement would be wise. Lucas's career is at such a crucial point, and with him in Tokyo. She paused, examining her reflection in a serving spoon. Caroline mentioned her firm is looking for marketing consultants. In Seattle. Seattle. Like Rebecca Chin. My father's words echoed in my head. That's thoughtful of you, Valerie. I met her eyes in the spoon's warped reflection. But I'm happy with my career here. Oh, darling. Her laugh tinkled like broken glass. Are you really? Leading marketing for a small tech startup? You could do so much better. Unless you're settling. The china trembled in my hands. Through the kitchen door, I could see Lucas deep in conversation with Caroline. Actually, I set down the plates carefully, I just landed the Metrotech account. Global campaign, 8 figures. They specifically requested me after seeing my work with Japanese markets. Valerie's smile flickered. How fortunate, isn't it? They're headquartered in Tokyo. I'll be traveling there monthly. I watched the realization hit her. Starting next week, actually. You never mentioned. I wanted it to be a surprise. For Lucas. I pulled out my phone, letting her see the screen. The recording was still running. Sometimes these things just need a gentle push in the right direction. Isn't that what you always say? Her face went rigid, that perfect mask cracking just slightly. You little mother. Lucas appeared in the doorway. Is everything all right? We heard raised voices. Valerie's mask slipped back into place. Of course, darling. Sophia and I were just discussing wedding venues. I smiled, tucking my phone away. And so much more. Emily's law office felt like neutral ground, the only place I could breathe lately. I played her the recording from the Carter dinner, watching her expression darken with each word. She's good, Emily said, stopping the playback. Notice how she never directly threatens you. Always suggestions, implications. I have the emails too. My hands shook as I reached for my coffee. But Lucas still won't see it. Emily's lawyer face slipped into place. Show me your phone. I handed it over, watching her scroll through my messages. 3 missed calls from Lucas flashed on the screen. Your engagement photos are everywhere, she said, turning her laptop toward me. Valerie's social media is full of them. My beautiful future daughter-in-law. Family is everything. She's building a public narrative. The photos showed a perfect couple, a perfect family. But my smile looked strained, and Valerie's hand on my shoulder seemed more like a grip than an embrace. She's covering her tracks, I said. No. Emily's voice went sharp. She's setting you up. If anything happens to break up this engagement, you'll look like the villain. The jealous fiancé who couldn't handle her successful partner's family. My phone buzzed. Lucas, Mom's worried about you. Says you've been acting strange. Talk to me. He's flying back to Tokyo tomorrow, I said. 3 more months of contract work. With Caroline's law firm expanding there. Emily started typing rapidly. Sophia, I found something. Rebecca Chin isn't the only one. There's a pattern. She turned the screen toward me. Article after article, spanning 15 years. Young women, promising careers, all connected to the Carter family. All gone. Your father's case was just the tip of the iceberg. Valerie doesn't just break up relationships, she destroys lives. And now. My phone lit up again. An email from my boss, urgent meeting tomorrow regarding Metrotech account. Concerns raised about project leadership. She's moving faster than I thought, Emily muttered. Another message popped up, this one from Valerie. Darling, heard about the Metrotech situation. So unfortunate. But perhaps it's a sign. Lucas needs someone who can focus on supporting his career, not chasing their own. The pieces clicked into place. The dinner party wasn't just about Caroline, it was about witnesses. The social media campaign wasn't celebration, it was ammunition. Every move I'd made to protect myself had given her another weapon. Emily, my voice sounded distant to my own ears, I need everything you can find on Rebecca Chin. And the others. Sophia. No more defense. If Valerie wants to play the long game, she's about to learn she's not the only one who knows how to plan ahead. My phone buzzed one final time. Lucas, coming home early. We need to talk. Richard Carter's private study felt like entering a lion's den. He sat behind his mahogany desk, examining the stack of evidence I'd placed before him, printouts of emails, recordings. Emily's research on Rebecca Chin and the others. My wife, he said finally, has always been Particular about Lucas's life choices. Particular enough to destroy careers. I pushed Rebecca's old newspaper clipping forward. To systematically eliminate anyone who threatened her control. His fingers traced the headline. These are serious accusations, Sophia. They're facts. My voice stayed steady despite my racing heart. And now she's targeting my job, my reputation. A knock interrupted us. Valerie's voice drifted through the door. Richard. Caroline's parents are here for drinks. Will you be joining us? Richard's expression shifted, something dark passing behind his eyes. One moment, dear. He turned to me. How long have you known? About Caroline. Since the dinner party. About the others. A week. I leaned forward. But you've known longer, haven't you? He opened his desk drawer, pulling out a worn leather journal. 23 years ago, Valerie was engaged to someone else. A young attorney named Michael. He disappeared after meeting someone more suitable. 3 months later, we were married. My throat went dry. What happened to him? Nothing illegal. Just circumstances. Career problems. Family issues. Sound familiar? The journal landed between us. Inside, detailed notes spanning decades, dates, names, incidents. Richard had been documenting everything. Why didn't you stop her? Stop Valerie. His laugh was hollow. You don't stop a force of nature. You survive it. He gestured to the journal. Or you gather evidence. My phone buzzed. Lucas, at airport. Mom says you've been meeting with Dad secretly. What's going on? Another message followed immediately. Valerie, found your little research project in Richard's email. Clever girl. But did you really think he'd choose you over family? The study door opened. Valerie stood there, Caroline and her parents visible in the hallway behind her. Her smile was razor-sharp. Sophia, darling. What a surprise. We were just discussing Lucas's Tokyo project. Caroline's firm is handling all the legal work now. Such a perfect arrangement. Richard's face remained impassive, the journal still lying exposed between us. I realized with sudden clarity, he hadn't been sharing evidence. He'd been warning me. Perfect indeed, I said, reaching for my phone. Should we call Lucas? Tell him everything. Valerie's smile didn't waver, but her eyes turned to steel. Richard, dear, would you pour our guests some wine? Sophia and I need to have a little chat about family loyalty. The choice crystallized, retreat now and lose everything, or push forward and risk whatever Valerie had planned. I thought of Rebecca Chin, of Michael, of all the others who'd faced this moment. I stayed seated. Yes, let's chat about loyalty. And consequences. The Carter family's annual charity gala buzzed with whispers and sideways glances. I stood at the edge of the ballroom, watching Valerie work the crowd, Lucas at her side. Caroline hovered nearby, perfectly positioned for the society photographers. My phone vibrated. Emily, ready when you are. Evidence uploaded. The weight of Richard's journal pressed against my ribs, tucked inside my evening gown. 23 years of carefully documented destruction, and I was about to detonate it all. Ladies and gentlemen, Valerie's voice carried across the room. Before tonight's auction, I have a special announcement. Her eyes found mine, glittering with triumph. My son Lucas has accepted a permanent position in Tokyo, heading our family's new architectural venture with Sterling Law. Caroline's father raised his champagne glass. Sterling Law, his firm. The pieces clicked into place. And to ensure our family's continued partnership, Valerie continued, we're celebrating not one, but two exciting developments tonight. Lucas stepped forward, confusion crossing his features. Mother, what? The merger of our businesses, she smiled, and the joining of our families. Lucas and Caroline. That's enough. My voice cut through the murmurs. The room fell silent as I walked toward them, phone in hand. Play the recordings, Emily. All of them. Valerie's voice filled the ballroom, not her public persona, but the real one. The one that threatened and manipulated. The one that destroyed lives. Sophia, stop this. Lucas reached for me, but I stepped back. 23 years, I said, opening Richard's journal. 23 years of carefully orchestrated accidents. Career-ending rumors. Lives destroyed. Starting with Michael Davies. Valerie's composure cracked. Who? Your first fiancé. Before Richard. Before the money. The one who disappeared. I turned to the crowd. Just like Rebecca Chin. Just like all the others whose lives you methodically dismantled to maintain your perfect world. These are lies, Valerie hissed, but her eyes darted to Richard, who stood silently holding the evidence he'd gathered for decades. Lucas, I turned to him, heartbreaking at his expression. I'm sorry. But you needed to know. Know what? Valerie's laugh turned hysterical. That I protected him. That I made sure he had everything. She stopped, realizing too late what she'd revealed. That you what, mother? Lucas's voice was deadly quiet. The room held its breath. I'd wanted justice, wanted to expose Valerie's manipulation. But as I watched Lucas's world crumble, I realized revenge had a price I hadn't calculated. Tell him, Richard said softly. Tell him why Michael really disappeared. Valerie's mask shattered completely. Because he would have ruined everything. Because he would have told everyone about. She looked at Lucas, then Richard, and I saw the moment her carefully constructed world collapsed. About what, mother? The truth hung between them like a blade about to fall. About Lucas's real father. Valerie's words dropped like stones into the stunned silence of the ballroom. About Michael Davies, and why he had to disappear. Richard stepped forward, his face ashen. Valerie, don't. Don't what? She laughed, high and brittle. Don't tell our son that his perfect father is a lie. That everything I built was to protect him from the truth. Lucas stood frozen between them. I reached for his hand, but he pulled away. Michael threatened to tell everyone, Valerie continued, her composure cracking like thin ice. About the affair, about the pregnancy. He would have ruined everything I'd worked for. So yes, I made him disappear. Just like I did with anyone else who threatened what I built. Built on lies, I said quietly. She whirled on me. Built on survival. You think you know about protection? About love? I gave up everything to ensure Lucas would have the right name, the right future. Richard agreed to marry me, to claim Lucas as his own. We created the perfect family. Perfect. Lucas's voice shook. You destroyed people's lives. Rebecca Chin, the others, they were real people, mother. They were threats. Valerie's mask slipped completely. Just like she is. She pointed at me. Playing detective, digging up the past. For what? Justice. She spat the word. There is no justice in love. Only survival. Richard opened his journal. I documented everything, Lucas. Every manipulation, every accident she orchestrated. I thought keeping records would somehow make up for my silence. You knew. Lucas turned to his father, the man he'd thought was his father. All this time. I loved you as my own, Richard whispered. I still do. The room had emptied, leaving only our small group in the wreckage of Valerie's carefully constructed world. Caroline and her family had slipped away, along with the other witnesses to this implosion. Lucas, I started, but he cut me off. Did you know? When you started investigating? No. I met his eyes. I was only trying to protect us from her interference. I never imagined. Protect? Valerie laughed again. You've destroyed everything. Are you happy now? I looked at her, really looked at her. Behind the perfect makeup and designer dress, I saw something familiar, fear. The same fear I'd felt reading those emails, hearing those whispers. The fear of losing everything you love. No, I said softly. I'm not happy. But at least now we can all stop pretending. Lucas turned away from all of us, his shoulders rigid. The perfect family, he muttered. Built on perfect lies. The truth hung between us like shattered glass, impossible to piece back together. The envelope arrived on my wedding morning, hand-delivered to my father's house. Inside, a single photograph, young Valerie, maybe 20, standing beside an older woman with the same sharp eyes and perfect posture. The note read, "Sometimes we become what we fought against." R.C. Rebecca Chen's final message. I tucked it away, understanding finally clicking into place. The ceremony was small, just my parents, Emily, and Richard in the garden where Lucas and I first met. No society photographers, no carefully curated guest list. No Valerie. You look happy, Richard said during our dance, his eyes crinkling with genuine warmth. Both of you. We are. I watched Lucas chatting with my father, his shoulders relaxed for the first time in months. Thank you for staying. For choosing truth over appearance. Appearances. He shook his head. Valerie's mother was obsessed with them too. Controlled every aspect of her life until Valerie learned to control others instead. The music shifted, and Lucas appeared at my side. May I cut in? Richard squeezed my hand before stepping away. Take care of each other. As we danced, Lucas said quietly, I found Mom's old diary. The things her mother did to her. It doesn't excuse what she became, but it explains it. He nodded, then smiled slightly. You know what's strange? I always thought I needed the Carter name to succeed. But starting over as Lucas Bennett feels like freedom. My phone buzzed in my hidden dress pocket. A text from Emily, Valerie's latest post is live. You should see this. Later, I found it, a public apology. Not to us specifically, but to those I've heard in my pursuit of perfection. The comments were flooding in, other stories. Other lives touched by her manipulation. The truth, finally spreading in the sunlight. Will it be enough? Lucas asked, reading over my shoulder. For some, maybe. I thought of the photograph, of cycles broken and repeated. But that's not our story anymore. He took my phone gently, setting it aside. Dance with me again. As we moved across the garden, I caught glimpses of our future in the fading light, truth over appearances, substance over style, love over control. Not perfect, but real. The photograph stayed in my drawer, a reminder that revenge and justice aren't always what we imagine. Sometimes they're quieter, a cycle broken, a truth told, a different path chosen. And sometimes, the greatest victory isn't in destroying your enemy, but in refusing to become them. Lucas pulled me closer, humming along with the music. Around us, our small family gathered, chosen and bound by truth rather than appearance. In the end, that was all the perfect ending we needed.